Welcome to the Pitchwerks podcast. I'm Scott McTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epicast network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks podcast.
One thing I learned about this is the user is actually the biggest currency in this business, right? Like, it's about the people. You know, if people are traveling, if they're going and they're doing, that's what these Expedias and Pricelines want. They want people going and purchasing on their website to go do those things. They want that market share.
Hey everybody, it's Scott. It's Wednesday and it's the Pitchwerks podcast. Thanks as always for tuning in. I would like to introduce Tyler Pratte, DestyDo. Think granular matching. You get to do exactly what you want to do on your next cruise vacation. It is a very interesting way of attacking the, just super, super hot travel industry. And we're glad to have him here in the studio. Before we jump into that interview, I am going to ask you, as I have done so many times before, to rate and review this fine program. You know why? You know that it's important. I would just ask that this be the time that it happens. Let's jump in. Let's talk to Tyler. We got a whole bunch of stuff to discuss today. All right, Tyler Pratte, DestyDo, how are you?
Good, Scott. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm really happy to be here.
Man, you're very welcome. I'm looking at the front page of your website right now, and I want to go to there, is the old saying, right? You got a vacation theme here. You're a startup focused on cruises and helping match people up, but I can't get past the fact that I want to go to the place in the photo on the front of your website. So how about if you tell them what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. We want to help you get there. Ultimately, DestyDo, it is initially focused in the cruise industry. We are completely in a league of our own, and we are going to change the industry completely. Basically, what we do is we are the only travel website that allows you to pick a cruise or a travel plan based on the exact activities that you want to do. So, for example, we've all been there, right? We've all taken time out of our vacation or time planning, right? Anytime you have kids, we were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You take tons of time, planning, making sure it's perfect, or, you want to go somewhere with your significant other or friends. We literally want to start the vacation right from the browser. We want you to get there, dream it, plan it, and do it. That's our ultimate goal.
That's cool. I know you come from a sales background. You're the founder of the company, you're co-founder of the company, but you guys have split up some of the work, right? And,
yes.
And your focus is basically revenue.
Yes, absolutely.
But you've got a background more, if I'm right, in more like enterprise type stuff. Yes?
Absolutely. Enterprise background in sales, cybersecurity, software specifically.
Yeah, so not vacations and not B2C, right? The consumer.
Right. Okay, yep.
So, obviously, as you're dreaming this up, you're thinking about that a little bit. I'm sure of it. You're sitting there going like, because I do it too, right?
Sure.
You go, the enterprise is a different place.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I think a lot about when people make a radical transition, and I think there's a lot of people in your boat where once you've been in B2B, especially enterprise level sales, you start to realize that you can move the needle. Like you realize you can actually, impactful people, you have developed a skill set that is at a bare minimum desirable.
Sure.
If you're really good at it, it starts to become, again, the kind of thing that moves the needle for the things you really want.
Yeah.
But then there's the comfort trap side of it, right? The comfort trap is, if I'm going to pay myself,
right.
What happens if nobody takes a cruise in 2018?
Right, which won't happen, by the way.
Right.
Yeah,
of course not, because
right.
they've already left. I mean, the numbers are already up there, right? The boats are already in the water. But
yeah.
I've had that thought 100 times, and
Sure.
I'm wondering how it affected you. That mindset of the approaching transition.
Yeah. So personally, I've never been one to kind of sit there and worry about what could be. My ultimate goal in life, and I tell everyone this, and for the people listening, I want to create something that's going to outlive me. That's my main focus. I don't ever want to sit there and say maybe or what if. I want to be able to look. I have a baby on the way. I was sharing it with Scott.
I just found out today.
Yeah, I just found out. I want to be able to sit there and look that person in the eye, or my future kids and my wife, and say, hey, listen, I bet it, and we're here, and
Yeah.
I just want to challenge ourselves, and obviously not irresponsibly, but with something like DestyDo, where you can really get behind it, and there's actual scientific fact that meets it, and obviously the research behind it shows that it can be a win. I mean, creating something that outlives me and making it to that point, that's what drives me. I have no fear.
What did you feel like you needed to brush up on or study in order to fit this role?
Well, the thing about that, Scott, is everything, right? That's the key point, right? Like the minute that you sit there and think that, okay, there's one specific thing I need to brush up on, that's where you're going to fail, right? The key part is really going in there. And my ultimate goal in this was really it can relate to everybody. And I want to have fun. Like I want to give people time, right? I want to have people literally change their lives and give them memories that really you can't monetize, right?
Yeah, but you're looking at this maybe a little bit different than I think other people probably do. And I think that's, we were talking before we started, you're a competitive fighter, right?
Sure.
So you don't maybe think about it the same way then as other people would, in that you're thinking that you need to train on all your, various disciplines every time.
Absolutely.
And other people think, I've never talked to a homeowner before, and I'm going to screw up, that part because I don't know what it is, right? So it's an interesting takeaway there. You're bringing a fighter's mindset into this.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just the thing. I think that the minute that you think that you've arrived in any facet in a business, whether you're owning it, whether you're starting it, whether you're even an intern starting fresh, right? You can learn in anything. Like I'm sure in our conversation here, I'm going to leave here and be like, Scott, like, thank you for the pizza and talking about what we talked about and learning.
Don't tell people there was pizza. They're going to start expecting it.
I'm kidding. There was no pizza. There was salads for the families at home. Salads, plenty of carrots.
No
dressing.
God,
painful.
He's such a cheap bastard.
Don't come up and meet this guy.
God, Scott is just he doesn't lay out for anything. So let's talk about that a little bit, right?
Sure.
So you said what? MMA?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu primarily.
Nice.
But yeah, MMA, I've been doing that for a while, but yeah, jiu-jitsu is my favorite part of the game.
Yeah. You know what I like about it? And it that mindset carries over to what we do, right?
Sure.
Allowing somebody else's energy to carry the beginning of the conversation is one of my favorite things.
Oh, yeah.
So if somebody comes hard at you with an objection, judo will serve you well.
Certainly, yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't it feel right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Because you're like, okay, I have to stay calm. I have to see what they're doing. I have to let it develop, and then, I have to use that energy to my benefit.
Completely right. Absolutely.
So you want to know what I really liked about the materials you sent me?
What's that?
I'm going to crack you up because it's not the thing you think it is. No matter what you think it is, it's not that.
Okay.
You sent me a brief telling me about sort of where you're at, what the current status is, and you said the website is, and then you put the word complete in quotation marks. And I laughed for like a good 30 seconds, and I was like, there's a guy who gets it. Because it's never complete. It's a never-ending journey. Exactly. And I just loved the fact that your official brief, and I assume that's what you send to investors?
Well, we send a lot of different stuff to investors depending on interest level. We send one-pagers, we have documents, all kinds of stuff, but we send all kinds of stuff.
Right. It just felt like investors get this thing.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you just hung it out there. You're just like, yeah, it's complete. Like, we're not super happy ever, but it's kind of done. It'll take your money if you want it to, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about DestyDo is whether you're 5 or 500, if you went on there right now, you would understand it. You'd be able to really interact with it and really be able to grasp the concept, right? We're going to be continuing to innovate. Like I said, we're initially focused in the cruise industry, and we have patents on all of our technology and our process.
I was going to ask about that later.
Yeah, so we have our patents, and like I said, there's so many different avenues we can get this thing into, and I love the quotations behind complete because
I love it.
We're never a finished product, but at the end of the day, we're already at phase 1 changing the game, and that shows based off the users that we generated in such a short period of time.
So in terms of where you're headed, I have to believe you think that somebody is probably a good model in terms of like what their path was, right? Like, and I'm going to pull one. I don't know if this is it or not. So hotels.com.
Okay.
Right? Because it's an established model that kind of got to an exit, right? Where they sold to, I believe, Expedia.
Correct.
And it's kind of in the same space. Granted, one is maybe for business travel, right? You can't necessarily say it's always for vacations. I get that there's some blurry lines there, right? But do you think of it that way? Do you think of like, let's look at other companies that came before us and try to model after one or another?
DestyDo, as far as following a model and the people who come before you, that's obviously something good. But when it comes to DestyDo, there really isn't anything like it in the market. But I will say the closest thing that I would kind of compare us to now that most people listening today would understand would be like the Priceline Negotiator tool.
Interesting.
It was a hot, innovative tool.
I remember.
That really changed the face of travel.
Nobody expected anybody to give you that power.
Exactly.
Right.
And now with DestyDo, you look at, our patented process, being able to literally select an entire vacation based off what you want to do within minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's never been done before. And I mean, it's been proven. And even our patent attorneys, we have great attorneys, Conan Grigsby. There's never been any prior art on any of our patents.
Nice.
And but you look at the major exits. I mean, like you said, Expedia, and this goes back to what I said, obviously watching. These Expedias of the world, they have $1 billion a year, some of them in goodwill credit.
Yeah.
Just to acquire and take technology. So I mean,
it's one of those games where the rich have to get richer because the margins can be slim, and a bad manager will crash a company. Right?
You're spot on. And one thing about this too, Scott, and I think you can understand. A lot of times you sit there and you think money, money, money. Especially being sales guys ourselves, right? You're like money. But one thing I learned about this is the user is actually the biggest currency in this business, right? Like it's about the people. If people are traveling, if they're going and they're doing, that's what these Expedias and Pricelines want. They want people going and purchasing on their website to go do those things. They want that market share.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thought process when you start applying the principles of trust as well. Right?
Correct. That's a good point.
I always use hotels.com for my hotels. Not because they're better. I don't know that they're better. It's because I know exactly what to expect, and I know how to compare properties on hotels.com to a refined level that I don't know on other sites, right? Like, so in other words, I know that, this is where the reviews are, and that's where I'll see pictures of the room, and I'll understand if it's a suite or a single, because like if I go on the road and I want to do a show, I want a suite, right? So that I don't have, guys like you in my bedroom, because it's kind of off-putting to be like, I slept there last night, let's do a show.
Oh man, come on.
But no, I mean, like literally that's where I started. Was I was like, I wanted to do a suite.
No,
and
fair.
A lot of these places, they wouldn't even tell you enough about the room to know whether or not you were getting that.
Sure.
And on hotels, I just kind of figured it out, and it was like, that made sense for me. Now, the departure, like I said, though, is that you're talking about people's leisure dollars, and on hotels.com, I'm almost always there for business. Like,
sure.
It's a totally different mindset, and it's a totally different. I'm not worried about disappointing my wife on hotels.com because most of the time she's not there with me.
Or disappointing yourself.
Right.
I mean, because, you take that into equation. And that's the thing, you need to take yourself into the actual traveler, right? And cruiser specifically. I'd love to get away more personally, but some people, like, this might be their one vacation in 3 years. So you really want to have all the information, right? You don't want to get there and waste half your time saying, what do you want to do now? I always laugh because I kind of compare it to like my wife when I'm talking to her about dinner, right? It's, what do you want to eat tonight? I don't know. And by the time we figure it out, we're arguing 30 minutes later. And
I'm there with you, but I think that's proof of not wanting to assert. You don't want to let her down.
Correct.
If you say something and she's like, I don't want to do that, you don't want her to eat something just because it makes you happy.
Correct.
And that's why I kind of go back to the vacation being kind of it's a high pressure situation to an extent, right? You're only going to take 1 or 2 vacations a year, right? A lot of us don't get one. So the pressure is on that the decisions you make, the way that you get your data, and I want to get into this in a minute. The way that you make sure everyone's special preferences and needs are addressed, super important.
Absolutely.
Now, probably more than any other time in our history as a country, right? People are comfortable being different than everyone else, and our selection mechanisms are more frictionless maybe than ever. You can sit for an hour and look at all the toppings on a pizza website.
True.
Right? And be like, okay, I want 1/2, I don't know, grilled chicken, right? and 1/2 to be pineapple. And maybe that wouldn't go over so well with somebody on a telephone, but when you have that level of granularity on your computer, you can say, my son doesn't really like salty environments, right? My son doesn't like, he has an allergy. My wife has a problem with these activities, and you can specifically hand choose all of this. And it seems like that's where you want to go. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and that's where we are. I mean, you kind of, that was a great segue. So with DestyDo, just that is important, right? You can literally drill down to the exact specification of what you need, right? Because we're all different at the end of the day. Some people, the boat is the actual amenity, right? They want to know what the best amenities are on the ship. Some people like to just relax on a beach and read. Some people like to go bungee jumping. Some people like to party, right?
Some people want to make sure there's kids.
Correct.
Stuff. Some people don't want kids even on the boat.
Absolutely. And we drill down to even things that if there's health restrictions or if there's anything specified that you need, right? And we thought of all that, and we have all that in there so that you can get exactly what you want out of the experience that you're looking to have.
So now, you've got this sort of custom tailored pizza toppings type approach, right? Everybody gets exactly what they want.
Exactly.
Here's the $1 million question.
Yes, sir.
How do you drive people to the site? How do you make sure they know? It's always, sort of the David and Goliath question.
Sure.
Now, the easy out is you get these major vacation providers to link to you.
Sure.
Easy in the sense that there's no effort, not easy in the sense of you have enough money to buy that link, right?
Certainly.
So how does the young scrappy company get it?
Sure. So, so that was nice low-hanging fruit. But what I like to say is, really, grassroots efforts are going to be a major thing, and everybody likes that model now, right, of spreading the word organically.
Yeah.
But one good stat about our company, Scott, is 100% of people that took a cruise last year, they had to go and get on a boat somewhere.
Right.
Right. So just out of the Port of Miami alone last year, 26.2 million people left from the Port of Miami.
Right.
And we want to be fun, disruptive, and interact, and we want to be right with our doers, right? That's what we call them, doers.
Yeah.
And we're going to really get in there, and we're going to have, obviously, guerrilla marketing where we can get in and talk to our customers face-to-face, and we want them to see us and recognize us. Obviously, there's advertising situations, with mainstream marketing, search engine things, but really the ultimate thing that we're going to do is we're going to be there right in their face and show them that, hey, listen, this is the thing you want to be doing. Go with DestyDo. It'll make your life a lot easier, and we're going to have fun doing it.
Okay, can I be your consultant?
Please.
Okay, you don't have to pay as long as the microphone's in your face. It's the one rule around here. Like, you don't have to pay for the consulting services as long as you're actually being recorded with that big can of a microphone in front of your face.
It's on record.
I want you to just think about this with me, that what if preferences and special needs can be prioritized for just a moment, right?
Sure.
What if there's a medical special need that we can reach out to that community? So, for example, we all at this point know someone who has someone who's on the autism spectrum.
Sure.
Right?
I have a family member.
Yeah. Everyone knows someone.
Sure.
And there are very specific things that you are worried about when you say, this person will be in the care of a stranger. Right? I guarantee you that either A, there is a cruise that thought about this, or B, you could present this to a cruise and say, we want to put this together as an amenity on your next, and if it's okay, we'd like to take credit for it.
Right.
And it's back to your low cost marketing, back to your sort of like, how do I get out there?
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you there's a whole bunch of really tired moms. I mean, that's work. You said you've got a family member that...
Yeah.
Because the world has not been made safe for these people yet.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really tiring for the parents. And it's like, if you could guarantee that or something like it doesn't have to be autism. It was just the easiest example I could come up with, because there are so many people now that are having this fight where the world isn't accommodating. And if you could work with a cruise partner and say, we want to go to these parent groups and these support boards and things where people post the tips.
Yeah.
That'd be huge for you. I think it would be huge.
And that's the thing. And that's why, I like where your head's at on that, because that is, with DestyDo, limitations are not, they're off the table, right? This thing, it literally is for everyone. That's the key, right?
But you've got to get that thing that makes it, what's the word? Undeniable.
Right.
In the early going, that gets the wheels turning. And
Correct.
I know your wheels are turning. It's already, quote unquote, complete. But that undeniable, that thing where it's got a gravity and a force unto itself, comes from people saying, like, if you have this need, there's only one provider that cares.
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
And then you go, well, it's not just for medical concerns and whatnot. It just seems to really fit those people.
It just helps.
Yeah.
Right. It's a huge help. Right. Absolutely.
And then the next thing you know, you're like, no, I just want to go to one there where there's a murder mystery, right? Like it goes from, well, we needed it because, again, well, we can't go to any place that has these allergic problems
right,
too.
Or health restrictions.
I really like ones that have movies on them.
Sure, absolutely.
Simple stuff as opposed to complex.
Absolutely.
All right, consulting session over.
Hey, sounds good.
So, talking about you personally.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in this?
Well, it's actually a family owned and operated organization.
Nice.
Dad, brother, and then also another partner that we have. We are a family of doers, right? We're a family of avid cruisers. That's how we grew up in taking vacations because we had to save. My parents, I give them a lot of credit. My mom, my dad, I've seen what they can do with what hard work can do. They took, two young boys, then a third, and worked their way into kind of making sure that we had things, making sure we had quality family time, and that's stuck with us. And, we always sat there. And as you know, when you take any vacation, I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise, Scott, before, but
no, I haven't.
Whenever you go somewhere, there's just like a massive cattle call of people, where everyone's fighting to kind of get to the same beach or the same jet ski, and they're spending tons of money doing it, right? And then you get there and it's kind of a little bit of a letdown because you're like, man, like I wish I could have done that longer. So about 4 years ago, we started thinking, how can we turn this on its head?
Mm-hmm.
So we started talking, and then we came up with, what? Everybody thinks about price and they think about where they're going first, but what if we made the destination come to you?
Yeah.
And then that's where it was born. And then that's where we roped in our partner, John Manzetti.
Mm-hmm.
He was CEO and chairman of the PLSG group. He's a big time advocate for us. And we've learned so much off of him. He's been a gigantic blessing to our team. And then, we got great team members involved. TrueFit Solutions, Z-Brand.
Darren was on not so long ago.
Yes.
And you had Z-Brand involved too.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, we're black and gold through and through. We literally are Pittsburgh through and through, and we align with the best of the best to make sure that our vision can become a reality. And if anybody got a chance to tune into the Darren Grove podcast, we went through the entire process. We made sure that scientifically there was a market for what we were going to put out to the doers. And we wanted to make sure that we were putting out everything, the perfect product initially.
Yeah.
And
I saw the way the story unfolds.
Yes, sir.
He walked me through.
Yeah.
Sort of like, okay, we start here and it's kind of a mess, right? It's like all the spaghetti noodles are kind of just overlapping and tangled with each other.
Sure.
And he's like, and we start pulling them out and straightening them out and saying like, okay, this is real. This is something we thought that turned out to be not to be true.
Yeah.
This is something we didn't see that turned out to be an unexpected win.
Sure.
Right? I like Darren's process.
We literally never missed a deadline. We actually delivered our product 3 whole days early,
Nice.
right? But we arrived on time early. Everything proved out. And, what we were able to do is special. And like I said before, our user base in the month that we've been live is just absolutely blowing our minds. Just
Nice.
with the feedback and everything that we're getting.
Well, you put the work in.
Yeah, the work that's exactly right.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Mm-hmm. You've got to understand that the people that went before you are trying to give you pointers.
Yes, sir.
And some of those people, okay. It was a different time, it was a different business, it was a different model, it was a different personality, but some of them are totally worth listening to.
Sure, absolutely.
A lot of people, when they start out something like DestyDo or sort of anything that requires more expertise than they have themselves, are reluctant to hire an outside consultant.
Okay.
Right? So I've met a bunch of people who, when it comes time to build it, they go, oh no, I have a friend who's really good at computers, right? And you got a lot more than that from Darren and his process.
Oh yeah.
But not everybody knows that. And I guess I'm curious, what was it that made you decide to bring in professional help early? Yeah,
well, the number one thing, like you said, our team, there's no egos. That's the first thing that anybody has to learn to kind of check at the door. Mm-hmm. The minute that, you think that, like you said, you got a buddy who can do it on the cheap, that's when you probably need to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, listen, maybe this isn't for me, because cutting corners, for some people, if you get lucky, good for you. And I hope that continues to work for you. But, that's not the good strategy to move forward with. We wanted to make sure that we aligned with the best, and then we were able to collaborate and innovate effectively, right?
You want to need luck as little as possible.
Exactly. Like, we don't want to rely on that. Like, that's the last thing that we want to do is, sit there and have our fingers and toes crossed and be rubbing the rabbit, toe or whatever, people do.
Boy, I hope I get my 401k back.
My goodness. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, we haven't had to do that one time. There's never been a time where I've sat across from my brother, who's the chief financial officer, or my dad, who's the CEO, and literally sat there and been like, oh my God, like, I hope this works tomorrow. You know, I hope it. We've never had that. We've been able to literally stand and deliver time after time and say what we mean, and we mean what we say. And that's why when we've stood in front of investors and stood in front of people, we've been able to look them into the eye with nothing but pure honesty and confidence and tell you, yeah, we're going to change the travel game. This is no joke.
I love you. Right? But it's a lot easier to say that than to feel it.
True.
Right?
True.
A lot of people will sit behind this mic or another one like it and do that brave face.
True.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now, I actually believe it from you.
Okay.
And here's the reason, right, is because when we've been talking today, before, when I've seen what you've written, just your actions, again, bringing in outside specialists is the act of a planning organization.
Exactly.
Right? And entrepreneurs, granted, it's not a monolithic group, but are disproportionately likely to say, let's jump off and build let's jump off the cliff and build an airplane on the way down.
Right.
And you didn't. You hired, I mean, no disrespect to Darren and his crew, but you hired some expensive people to make sure it went right.
Absolutely.
And that is a personality characteristic that is not in the majority in the entrepreneurial startup universe.
Absolutely. And I'm not a big, quotes are good, but I don't like to sit here like the modern day social media person and spout out quotes. But
well, then you're not allowed to have an Instagram account.
No, I know, but fail to plan is a plan to fail, right? I mean, that's the first thing you can do. I mean, no matter what you do, from family, from life, from personal, professional, if you don't have a direction, I mean, there's people every day like waking up hungry. Right, they wake up in the morning and
good
they have nice people, and they're coming after it. Like, you know what I mean? Their feet hit the floor like it wasn't an accident.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing. I don't want to wake up like it's an accident.
These aren't people who are looking to knock you off. They're people who are looking to make a living just like you.
Absolutely.
And they're hungry and they want it. And we're back to Rocky. We're back to Mr. T enters the series. Man.
Absolutely.
Man, you used to have the eye of the tiger. Now you don't.
Exactly. Right? I mean, it gave me chills, actually. I don't know why I have chills right now, but I have chills. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's true.
You're exactly right. Yes. And I think that's where it comes into putting your team together as well, right? Like, everyone on our team has a specific skill set. And, like John Manzetti on our team, seasoned CEO, seasoned person who's been around the block. And that's where, you have to put your ego aside, right? That's the thing. There are plenty of times where, you have a bunch of people in the room and everybody's intelligent and they're collaborating. But there's a time where you have to sit there and say, look at it from a third party perspective and say, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to trust. Because trust is a huge element, right? You need to know.
Oh, no doubt.
Especially in starting a business, you need to know that you look across the aisle to your partners and listen, I trust you, and I know that at the end of the day, we both aren't going to let this thing fail.
Yeah.
And I know that we're going to put our best foot forward. And then when you pick the teams and everything like that, and then that's why I feel so good sitting here with the product that we have today. And, you've played with it. You've seen what we put out.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about family in the startup universe, right? Because there's this thing where sometimes familiarity breeds contempt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, your brother probably has a lot of your personality characteristics, and sharing those characteristics that frustrate you is probably not his best thing, right? It's like the thing that frustrates you about yourself is the thing you get angry about in your brother. Trust me, I speak from experience. So obviously there has to be like work rules and family rules.
Certainly.
And I do think that these problems are mitigated by, again, bringing in outside experts, having a longer tail plan where, you're thinking out years in advance.
Sure.
But, tell me about the dynamics there.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. I know that it's been an honor, like truly working alongside my family. And the thing about how we work is, it starts in the household growing up. We have a lot of respect. you know, for my mother, my father, you know, we have a lot of respect there. So, you know, we know that no one's going to steer you wrong, and we all have experience in different things, right? So, you know, we've been able to lean on each other in places that we don't understand. But I'll say this, it's been good knowing that we're all on the same mission, you know, and it breeds a fire like you wouldn't imagine, right? Like you'd think that, you know, you're looking across the aisle and, you know, you see your brother who's, you know, there and you're like, listen, if I win, I know he's going to win. Professionally, you know, I always want to win. That's a sales guy in me, right? Yeah. You just always have it. But I know that there's a personal element too where I'm like, listen, watching my brother be set up for life potentially as well and being able to be a part of something that changes other human beings' lives. I'm really proud from being the oldest, similar to yourself.
Yeah, you have a different sense of responsibility.
Yeah, watching them grow as people, right? Like I sit there and I have a newfound respect for my dad, my brother, and just watching them literally like how they hold themselves in a scenario. Because, you know, we've been there, right? You're in an enterprise situation. You're on the hot seat, right? People are analyzing you, like waiting for you to screw up.
Things that they candidly admit they don't want anybody to do to them, and they have to do it to you.
Exactly. And watching them just thrive under that environment, like personally, it's amazing. And professionally, we've been able to really hammer things out and have no filter with each other. Be like, hey, you need to get this done, right? There's no quote unquote soft touching. You know.
Well, what are their backgrounds before DestyDo?
Yeah. So my brother, he's actually a graduate of Robert Morris in finance.
Okay.
He's been accepted to a lot of different big time grad schools.
Nice.
So he's in the middle of selecting that right now.
Good to have a money person.
Big time money guy, number guy. God bless him for that. And then my dad.
I know exactly what you meant there. You're like, I don't want to do that.
No, I do not. I like to sell it, and I like to see my bank account add higher. You know, being.
But
a sales
I don't want
guy.
to do the finance.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and then but my dad, he's actually owned IT consultant firms alongside my mother, and then obviously restaurants, pubs, things like that. So I've seen my family dynamic change off entrepreneurship.
Right.
I mean, I remember, like I said, you know, the parents working their way up and then starting their own businesses and seeing it change.
Right.
So it's really in my DNA, like creating something that's going to outlive you. Like I said before, really watching yourself grow from a seed all the way to just a huge flower, you know?
Well, I like the way you stay nimble, right? You're up on your balls of your feet, MMA style, right?
Heck yeah, man.
You're ready so that when the punch comes, it doesn't hurt you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, let's send people to the website. What's the address?
Yeah, it's www.DestyDo.com, and it's DestyDo. And, you know, enjoy it. You know, this is for you. We hope that you have a great time. We hope that you get out there and, you know, pretty much let us know what you want to do. And that's what it's all about. So what do you guys want to do?
Very, very nicely done, sir. Thanks for
very
coming
much,
on the show.
Scott.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
All right, that's the end of the ride. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Tyler and you know, just the whole gang over there at DestyDo. I appreciate you guys kind of opening the doors and letting us see what's going on. Check them out on their website and check us out when we come out again next week. It's always on Wednesday mornings. Subscribe now if you haven't already.
The Pitchwerks podcast comes to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a production of the Epicast Network and McTaggart, LLC. Engineering and production by Buzzy Torek and Nick Miller. For more information, show feedback, and ad sales, visit pitchwerks.com. EITCHWERKS.com. On social media, find and follow the show on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram using that same brand name, EITCHWERKS.